What's going on, Vivian?
All the words from the pages change your world, it can change your heart, it can change your mind, it can change your life. One can change your world.
All right, my beautiful people, man. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight for our evening session of the New Black Wall Street Book Club, where Black folk do read. You put in the book, we absolutely will find it. Reading Rainbow 2.0 with a purpose. Now, tonight we're going to continue along in our journey in The Alchemist by Mr. Paulo Coelho, a book that was recommended by Will Smith and Oprah Winfrey. And I'm your host, ERGJ, your certified financial educator, CEO of ERGJ Enterprises, CEO, and also ERGJ Black Bazaar, ERGJ Black Bazaar, and international best-selling author of the book, The Black Billionaires Club. It's a study of Black wealth. It's a study of the 12 richest Black people in the world today and how they built their wealth. And I just believe that if you want to be wealthy, you should study wealthy people. Now, The Alchemist is a, reason why I'm doing this is because I really just wanted to make sure I put myself in a position to share with you some things that I did. Because it's one thing to see someone move. It's one thing to see maybe they have some type of success. But if you never really figure out, well, what did they do in order to get there, then it's kind of like, well, I'm happy for them. So, there was a time when I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. There was a time when I, worked for a Fortune 500 company and I no longer wanted to be there, that I was micromanaged. And even though I did a great job, my job was never a question. It was sometimes my behavior, I guess you could say. So what I did when I wanted to leave, I wanted to quit, I wanted to move on. Sometimes you outgrow some things. I had to figure out a way out, and it really started with me changing myself, changing my thought process. And so what I did was I would just do something that other people are not willing to do, and that's what I continue to do now. I continue to just simply do stuff that most people won't, and that allows me to live the life that most people can't. And that's really what it comes down to. It comes down to decision. So I decided that I was going to listen to Will Smith. I was going to listen to Oprah Winfrey. They said, read this book. And guess what I did? I went and got it. When did I go get it? As soon as I heard about it. Does that make me different? Yes. Why? I don't know. Other people heard about it. They still won't go get it. It starts by going to the library. It starts by getting on Amazon. It starts by doing something different. So I went and got the book. And I decided, okay, I'm going to read the book. They said, read the book. I'm going to read the book. So I would take 30 minutes of my lunchtime and I would eat, for my body. And then I would take another 30 minutes, walk around campus. And I'd feed my soul, feed my brain, feed my mind. And I was feeding my mind on books like this. And so this whole series is all about sharing with you books that I read. I literally read these books. And then from that time frame, I ended up quitting my job, and I've been an entrepreneur ever since then. These are the books that I read. This is not books that I suggest you read. These are books that I read. And I'm just going back in the journey and saying, man, okay, now I can look back and I read it again. Like, that's why I started thinking like that. You change the way that you think, you'll change your life. If you want your life to get better, you got to get better. If you want your life to change, you got to change. You want to get health, you're going to have to get healthy. You know what I'm saying? You have to decide to change if you want things to change. Otherwise, guess what's going to happen? They're going to stay the same. They're going to stay the same. And nothing's going to change if you don't change. It will stay the same. And then later on in life, you'll be looking back like, man, if I just would have changed it, if I just would have did this, if I just would have did that. Well, you had the opportunity to do that. So The Alchemist, let's kind of pick up where we are. We're in, Santiago's now in the Oasis. He fell in love. He's going back and talking to this woman all the time. There's war that's taking place in the Oasis. He just had another dream, or looked at the Hawks or something like that, and he's like, oh no, it's finna switch, something finna happen. They finna come and attack the Oasis. So he went to go find the wise men and tell him what his dream was, or tell him what he saw. And that's where we are right now. And so let's pick up where we left off there. Let's keep on going. As a matter of fact, we're almost done. We're almost done with this book, right? The Alchemist. So let's pick over here. So we went to go see the seer. All right. Going to see the seer. So let's pick up there, right? All right. So the seer was a specialist in the casting of twigs. He threw them on the ground and made interpretations based on how they fell. That day, he didn't make a cast. He wrapped the twigs in a piece of cloth and put them back in his bag. I make my living forecasting the future for people, he said. I know the science of the twigs, and I know how to use them to penetrate to the place where all is written. There I can read the past, discover what has already been forgotten, and understand the omens that are here in the present. When people consult me, it's not that I'm reading the future. I'm guessing at the future. The future belongs to God, and it is only he who reveals it under extraordinary circumstances. How do I guess at the future? Based on the omens of the present. The secret is here in the present. Everybody put in the console, the secret is here in the present. The secret is here in the present. This is why it's called a present. It's called the present, and it's a present. The here and now. The secret is here in the present. When you and I get to a space in our minds that we are here. See, there are times when we are present, we are here, but we're not present. When we are present in the moment, versus our mind going all places, right? So our mind goes to the past sometimes. Thinks about the hurts that we've been through, the disappointments, and maybe the stupid mistakes we made. Our mind goes to the future, right? Or what could happen, what could happen. That's what fear is, by the way. You don't fear the past, you fear what could possibly happen in the future. So once you understand fear, you start thinking, man, why am I fearing that, right? So fear comes from your expectation or from your thought process of what might happen in the future, not what will happen. Let's understand that. That's what fear is. Fear has everything to do with the future, nothing to do with a little bit to do with the past based on your past experience, and a little bit to do with your present, but mostly of your idea of the future. So you get fearful when you start thinking about the future, not the past. You already know the past, right? But it's in the secret is in the present. So when you and I we get our mind settled for now. We're not thinking about the past. We're not thinking about the future. We are just here living in the moment. We are present. We're able to, it's a different place. It's like, oh, I can hear now. Oh, I can see now. Oh, now my intuition is working. It's kind of like, for me, I like to call it being in the zone. Anybody ever been in the zone? It's like you are in the zone. It's like I am here. I am present, and I can perceive everything. You ever felt like you were one with the world? And I don't think if I always feel like I'm one with the world. Sometimes I feel like I'm separated. But you ever felt like you've been one with the world? Like oh yes, I want to stay in this space right here. I'm present. The secret is in the present. If you pay attention to the present, you can improve upon it. And if you improve upon on the present, what comes later will also be better. So again, if you want your health to be better, you work on getting it better now, and it will get better later. You want your wealth, your finances, your bank account to get better, you start working on it now, and it will get better later. If you improve your present circumstance, you improve your position right now. You just take 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 5 steps. Guess what? Your later is going to be better. But many people, they simply won't take a step. They simply won't move. They simply sit there and look at the situation, but won't do anything about it, and just pray to God that he changes it. And you know what God is saying? I've given you the ability, I've given you the power to change it. I think that's what God is saying. He said, well, you keep asking me to change something for you that you can change for yourself. You don't need the God power in order for you to change that. I'm reserved for the God stuff. You call on me for the God stuff. You call on me for the stuff that you absolutely, it's outside of your power for you to change, for you to fix. Why are you calling on me for the stuff that you can do? I think that's what God is saying. I really do. It'd be like, you do know I'm God, right? You do know I run this whole universe, this whole thing, and you calling me for this little stuff. Call me for the God stuff. Forget about the future and live each day according to the teachings, confident that God loves his children. Each day in itself brings with it an eternity. The camel driver had asked what the circumstances were under which God would allow him to see the future. Only when he himself reveals it. And God only rarely reveals the future. When he does so, it is for only one reason. It's future that was written so as to be altered. God has shown that the boy a part of the future. The camel driver thought, why was it that he wanted the boy to serve as his instrument? Go and speak to the tribal chieftain, said the camel driver. Tell them about the armies that are approaching. They'll laugh at me, said the boy. They are men of the desert, and men of the desert are used to dealing with omens. Well, then they'll probably already know. They're not concerned with that right now. They believe that if they have to know about something Allah wants them to know, someone will tell them about it. It has happened many times before, but this time the person is you. Boy thought of Fatima. That's one he's in love with. And he decided he would go to see the chiefs and the tribes. Now he's on his way to see the chiefs and the tribes. So the boy approached the guard at the front of the huge white tent at the center of the oasis. I want to see the chieftains. I brought omens from the desert. Without responding, the guard entered the tent where he remained for some time. When he emerged, it was with a young Arab dressed in white and gold. The boy told the younger man what he had seen. And the man asked him to wait there. He disappeared into the tent. Night fell. And an assortment of fighting men and merchants entered and exited the tent. One by one, the campfires were extinguished, and the oasis fell as quiet as the desert. Only the lights in the great tent remained. During all this time, the boy thought about Fatima, and he was still unable to understand his last conversation with her. Finally, after hours of waiting, the guard bade the boy to enter. The boy was astonished by what he saw inside. Never could he have imagined that there in the middle of the desert, there existed a tent like this one. The ground was covered with the most beautiful carpets he had ever walked upon, and from the top of the structure hung lamps of hand-wrought gold, each with a lighted candle. The tribal chieftains were seated at the back of the tent in a semicircle, resting upon richly embroidered silk cushions. Servants came and went with silver trays laden with spices and teas. Other servants maintained the fires in the hookahs. That the atmosphere was suffused with a sweet scent of smoke. There were 8 chieftains, but the boy could see immediately which one of them was the most important. An Arab dressed in white and gold, seated at the center of the semicircle. At his side was a young Arab, the boy he had spoken with earlier. Who is this stranger who speaks of omens? Asked one of the chieftains, eyeing the boy. It is I, the boy answered. And he told him what he had seen. Why would the desert reveal such things to a stranger when it knows that we have been here for generations, said another chieftain. Because my eyes are not yet accustomed to the desert. Let's stop there. His eyes were not accustomed to the desert. Is it possible that because of your comfort, because of what you're accustomed to, because you know the neighborhood, because you know the city, because you are become accustomed to your environment, that you are passing over opportunities because you just can't see them anymore? You become so familiar with your surroundings that now you pass over opportunities without even knowing. Look what he said. He said, well, why would they talk to you and you new here? And he won't talk to us and we've been here because you guys are familiar with the desert. I'm new and I'm not accustomed to the desert, so I got fresh ears. I got fresh eyes. Maybe it's time for you and I to bring some fresh into our life. Maybe it's time for you and I to get out and do something different. Go somewhere different. Just travel somewhere different. Take a little hour or road trip. Take a little vacation. This is why vacations are good, by the way. Because you get to, hopefully you go somewhere different so you can come back refreshed, right? You come back refreshed with fresh eyes and fresh ears and a fresh new zest in life. And then you can begin to hear the omens again because you're no longer accustomed or not as familiar with your environment. And also because I know the soul of the world, he thought to himself. The oasis is neutral ground. No one attacks an oasis, said the third chieftain. I can only tell you what I saw. And if you don't want to believe me, you don't have to do anything about it. The men fell into an animated discussion. They spoke in Arabic dialect that the boy didn't understand. But when he was made to leave, the guard told him to stay. The boy became fearful. The omens told him that something was wrong. He regretted having spoken to the camel driver about what he had seen in the desert. Suddenly, the elder at the center smiled almost imperceptibly, and the boy felt better. The man hadn't participated in the discussion and, in fact, hadn't said a word up to that point. But the boy was already used to the language of the world. Everybody put in console language of the world. And he could feel the vibrations of peace throughout the tent. Now, his intuition was that he had been right in coming. The discussion ended. The chieftains went silent for a few moments as they listened to what the old man was saying. Then he turned to the boy. This time, his expression was cold and distant. 2,000 years ago, in a distant land, a man who believed in dreams was thrown into a dungeon and then sold as a slave. Talking about Joseph. The old man said, now in a dialect the boy understood, our merchants bought that man and brought him to Egypt. All of us know that whoever believes in dreams also knows how to interpret them. The elder continued, when the Pharaoh dreamed of cows that were thin and cows that were fat, this man I'm speaking of rescued Egypt from famine. His name was Joseph. He too was a stranger in a strange land, like you, and he probably was about your age. He paused, and his eyes were still unfriendly. We always observe the tradition. The tradition saved Egypt from famine in those days. Everybody put in comments on the tradition. Respect the tradition, right? Put in the comments on the tradition. We always observe the tradition. This is why it's so important for us to carry on the tradition. This is why it's so important for us to know our history. And this is why we must share that history with our youth. Because our youth are not respecting the tradition. The tradition teaches men how to cross the desert and how their children should marry. The tradition says that an oasis is neutral territory because both sides have oases, and so both are vulnerable. No one said a word as the old man continued, but the tradition also says that we should believe the messages of the desert. Everything we know was taught to us by the desert. The old man gave a signal and everyone stood. The meeting was over. The hookahs were extinguished and the guards stood at attention. The boy made ready to leave. But the old man spoke again. Tomorrow, we're going to break the agreement that says that no one at the oasis may carry arms. Throughout the entire day, we'll be on the lookout for our enemies. When the sun sets, the men will once again surrender their arms to me. For every 10 dead men among our enemies, you will receive a piece of gold. Wow. So now Santiago, because he was bold enough, right? He listened to the language of the world, watched the Hawks. The Hawks gave him a message. He was bold enough to then share that message or share that dream. Everybody also share that dream. He was bold enough to share that dream. Now, first, before he could share the dream, he had to believe the dream. My question to you first is, do you believe the dream? Whatever dream that is for you. So first he got the dream, he had to believe the dream. Then he had to be bold enough to share the dream. I want to tell you that some of you guys are missing your treasure simply because you won't share your dream. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Many of you simply are not receiving your treasure because you refuse to share your dream. You're making it so secretive. You got to hid it away somewhere. Do you really think that your dream, the dream that God has given you, do you really think it's just for you? That would be kind of selfish, right? I mean, that wouldn't make sense for God to say this dream is just for you. I mean, if you read a good book, these dreams are always shared for the benefit of others. Is it possible that your treasure is tied to your refusal or your disobedience to sharing the dream? Or maybe you're not sharing it because you don't really believe it. That could be it too. You just really don't believe it. You don't believe that this dream, that this thing that's been given to you is really like you can really get it. Like it's really possible. It's like, you know, it's so big, it's so huge, it's hard. It's like, man, it's just a dream. That's not real. You know, maybe you really don't believe it. And therefore you don't share it. So he believed the dream, he shared the dream, and if the dream that he shared is absolute, if it's the truth, if it is real, he's gonna get paid for it. Right? For every 10 dead men among our enemies, you will receive a piece of gold. But arms cannot be drawn unless they also go into battle. Arms are capricious as the desert, and if they are not used the next time, they might not function. If at least one of them hasn't been used by the end of the day tomorrow, one will be used on you. So look at that. So you shared this dream. This is the consequence, right? He shared a dream. If he interpreted the dream correctly and he shared it and it goes down as he said, he get paid. But if it don't, one of those arms, one of those guns is going to be used on him. He's going to be sacrificed for that dream. And that could be the reason why we don't share our dream, because of the sacrifice. Oh man, what if it don't? What if what I'm seeing isn't really what I'm seeing? You see, believing in it. What if what I think I see is not what I think I really see? Believing in it is doubt. So he's bold enough to say, man, this is what I saw, man. I don't know what to tell you. This is what I saw. I don't even know y'all like that, but I'm telling y'all this is what I saw. When the boy left the tent, the oasis was illuminated only by the light of the full moon. He was 20 minutes from his tent and began to make his way there. He was alarmed by what had happened. He had succeeded in reaching through to the solar world, and now the price for having done so might be his life. It was a frightening bet. But had he been making risky bets ever since? But he had been making risky bets ever since the day he had sold his sheep to pursue his personal legend. I want you guys to understand this, that you may think that pursuing your dream is risky, right? Because of however you live right now. You may say, man, doing all that, that's risky. Well, here's the deal. Here's what you need to understand. Here is the lesson. It's all risky. I mean, pursuing your dream, let me ask you this. Is you pursuing your dream, you going after your goal, you trying to build whatever it is that God has given you to build, you pursuing it, you might think that it's risky. But here's my question. How risky is it for you not to pursue it? That's a great question. That's a fantastic. You might think, man, it's risky for me to do that. Well, how risky is it if you don't do it? Oh, it's risky to invest in the stock market. Well, how risky is it for you to not invest? It's all risky. Everybody putting guns on, it's all risky. It's all risky. From the time you wake up in the morning till you go outside, it gets super risky. You get in your car, that's risky. Go to the mailbox, that's risky. It's all risky. But if you don't build, if you don't go after, if you don't pursue your personal legend, how risky is that? How risky is that? To be in a position where you're not fulfilled. How risky is that? To be in a position where you're not giving your all to the world. How risky is that? For you to spend but never invest. How risky is that? It's all risky. You just have to choose your level of risk. You have to choose it. And as the camel driver had said, to die tomorrow was no worse than dying on any other day. Every day was there to be lived or to make one's departure from this world. Everything depended on one word, maktub, which is, it is written. Walking alone in silence, he had no regrets. Everybody putting on, so no regrets. He had no regrets. If he died tomorrow, it would be because God was not willing to change the future. He would at least have died after having crossed the strait, after having worked in the crystal shop, after having known the silence of the desert and Fatima's eyes. He had lived every one of his days intensely since he had left home so long ago. If he died tomorrow, he would already have seen more than other shepherds, and he was proud of that. That begs another question. If you were in Santiago's position, and you're saying, man, if I die tomorrow, if when I go to bed tonight, it's my, God calls me to the heavens. When you look over your life, are you proud of that? When you look at the position you set your family in, when you look at the position you set your inheritance or your descendants in, Are you proud of that? If it was the end today, and you look back, are you proud of that? Do you have no regrets? And I believe that regret comes from neglect. The things that you should have done, the things that you could have done, but you simply didn't do them. Neglect. Neglect allows the weeds to grow in your garden. Neglect. And then you get to a point where there's so many weeds that it's overwhelming to cut them down. And then you get to regret. How did I let these weeds grow for so long? Are you proud of that? See, I've gotten to a point in my life where I have absolutely zero regrets. If I look back and say, man, we did this, we did that, we get this far, we got this done. I've seen more, I've done more. Matter of fact, my past 2 years, I've seen more, done more in the past 2 years than I can remember previously in my whole life. I'm proud of that. I've helped many people over the past 2 years, more people than I've helped than the previous 30 some odd years of my life. I'm proud of that. No regrets. I'm proud of that. Suddenly he heard a thundering sound, and he was thrown to the ground by the wind such as he had never known. The area was swirling in dust so intense that it hid the moon from view. Before him was an enormous white horse, rearing over him with a frightening scream. When the blinding dust had settled a bit, the boy trembled at what he saw. Astride the animal was a horseman dressed completely in black, with a falcon perched on his left shoulder. He wore a turban, and his entire face, except for his eyes, was covered with a black kerchief. He appeared to be a messenger from the desert, but his presence was much more powerful than that of a mere messenger. The strange horseman drew an enormous curved sword from a scabbard mounted on his saddle. The steel of his blade glittered in the light of the moon. Who dares to read the meaning of the flight of the hawks, he demanded, so loudly that his words seemed to echo through the 50,000 palm trees of Al-Fayoum. It is I who dared to do so, said the boy. He was reminded of the image of Santiago Matamoras, mounted on his white horse, with infidels beneath his hooves. This man looked exactly the same, except that now the roles were reversed. It is I who dared to do so, he repeated. And he lowered his head to receive a blow from the sword. Many lives will be saved because I was able to see through to the soul of the world. The sword didn't fall. Instead, the stranger lowered it slowly until the point touched the boy's forehead and it drew a droplet of blood. The horseman was completely immobile, as was the boy. It didn't occur to the boy to flee. In his heart, he felt a strange sense of joy. He was about to die in pursuit of his personal legend. Look at that. When I'm reading this, you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about all the men and women that I can think of who died for a cause. They died pursuing their personal legend, i.e. Martin Luther King, i.e. Jesus, Malcolm X. To die in pursuit of your personal legend. And for Fatima, the omens had been true after all. Here he was, face to face with his enemy. But there was no need to be concerned about dying. The soul of the world awaited him, and he would soon be a part of it. And tomorrow his enemy would also be a part of that soul. The stranger continued to hold the sword at the boy's forehead. Why did you read the flight of the birds? I read only what the birds wanted to tell me. They wanted to save the oasis. Tomorrow all of you will die because there are more men at the oasis than you have. The sword remained where it was. Who are you to change what Allah has willed? Allah created the armies, and he also created the hawks. Allah taught me the language of the birds. Everything has been written by the same hand, the boy said, remembering the camel driver's words. The stranger withdrew the sword from the boy's forehead, and the boy felt immensely relieved, but he still couldn't flee. Be careful with your prognostication, said the stranger. When something is written, there's no way to change it. All I saw was an army, said the boy. I didn't see the outcome of the battle. The stranger seemed satisfied with the answer, but he kept the sword in his hand. What is a stranger doing in a strange land? I'm following my personal legend. It's not something you would understand. The stranger placed a sword in the scabbard and the boy relaxed. I had to test your courage. Uh-oh. I had to test your courage. See, courage is the quality most essential to understanding the language of the world. Everybody put in gospel courage. Courage is essential to understanding the language of the world. Courage. Courage. The boy was surprised. The stranger was speaking of the things that were very few people knew about. You must not let up, even after having come so far, he continued. You must love the desert, but never trust it completely, because the desert tests all men. It challenges every step and kills those who would become distracted. Now remember, the desert, that's the journey. The desert is the dry place. The desert is the testing ground. And it tests all men. In other words, you will be tested as you are pursuing your personal legend. Make no doubt about it, you will be tested. Question is, will you have the courage to stand, right? No matter what. Do you have the courage? Will you have the courage when the test comes, and it will come? And don't be fooled and think you're gonna get around it. No, it will come when the test comes. And what's the test gonna come? It's gonna probably come in your area of weakness. Oh no, yeah, it ain't gonna come where you're strong. It's gonna come where you're weak. Will you have the courage to stand no matter what? Now notice, it's not will you have the strength to stand. It's will you have the courage to stand? There's a difference. Can you be strong enough? You can be strong, but still be scared. Will you have the courage to stand, not the strength to stand? That's important to know. It tests all men. It challenges every step. It kills those who become distracted. Now that makes you think, well, what is it that distracts you? Right? It kills those who become distracted. What is your biggest distraction? Great question to ask, by the way. As you just comb over your own inner being, your own self, what is your biggest distraction? Throws you off, keeps you from moving forward. What is your biggest distraction? Came up in your life and now you're not able to continue to forward because you're distracted. I want you, listen, there's a force that's for you, which I consider to be the universe, and there's a force that's against you, which I consider to be the world. The universe is going to clear the path. The world is going to block the path. So the world will throw you distractions. The world is going to attack your weaknesses. You understand? So, but if you identify your weaknesses, then you can actually fortify those weaknesses and have the courage to stand no matter what. But if you fail to even identify where you're weak, then you'll always fall for the trap. Always. It's called self-evaluation. You gotta evaluate yourself. Yeah, this get me out. I mean, matter of fact, it ain't no rocket science. It's been getting you for a while. It always seems to get you like, dang, they got me again. Dang, I fell for it again. Dang. Oh my goodness. It came in a different form this time, but it got me again. You gotta identify. Everybody forgot to identify. Once you begin to identify yourself, the stuff that's in you, the stuff that's been around for years, the mountain that you keep going around over and over and over again. Once you identify it, then you can attack it. Then you can change it. Then you can get stronger in that area. But he said, reminded the boy, the old king, if the warriors come here and your head is still on your shoulders at sunset, come and find me, said the stranger. Same hand that had brandished the sword now held a whip. The horse reared again and raising a cloud of dust. Where do you live? Shouted the boy as the horseman rode away. The hand with the whip pointed to the south. The boy had met the alchemist. The boy had met the alchemist. He didn't show up looking like he thought he was going to look, did he? Boy had met the alchemist. That's what we're going to stop at today. Man. So again, The Alchemist by Mr. Paulo Coelho. This is the book, one of the books that I read. And we're almost done here. Probably got another week and a half, maybe another week. We'll be done with this book. And I'll tell you guys, share with you guys the next book we'll read. But this was one of the books that I read to free my mind so that the rest could follow. So if you're in a position that you feel stuck, some people call you in a position you feel like you're on a plantation, you feel like you're enslaved. I wanted you to understand that if you simply free your mind, then the rest will follow. In the comments below, I'd like for you to share with us something that you learned today, something that may have stuck out. I know there's a lot of ramp up here in this part of the book, but you know, maybe there's something there was a seed of thought that stayed with you, that's been deposited into you. Question is, was this worth your time and why? Of course, we just come together to read. The readers are leaders. And I'm just here to share with you some things that helped me when I was in a position that you might be in right now. Freely has it been given to me, and freely do I give. So that's why I do this, right? But I want to make sure it was worth your time. Was this worth your time and why? This is New Black Wall Street Book Club, where black folk do read. You put it in the book. A book that was recommended by Will Smith, a book that was recommended by Oprah Winfrey. You put it in the book, we absolutely will find it. All right? This book here is probably a $17 investment. And here's what I'm saying. All it took was $17 invested in myself for me to change my life. I want you to get that. All it took. It didn't take $1 million. It took $17 and my desire to change for me to take control of my life, take control of my mind, take control of my life, and change the rest of my life. And what's very, very sad when you think about that, most people won't invest $17 to change their life, $17 to change their bank account, $17 to live the life of their dreams. They won't do it. Why? I don't know. It's choice, free will. Don't think it's possible. I'm here to tell you, $17 changed my life. Well, guys, thanks so much for tuning in here tonight. Reading Rainbow 2.0 with a purpose. Today's Thursday, so we're not going to be here tomorrow because I'm going to be doing stuff tomorrow. We'll be back on Monday for our evening reading. So hopefully you had a wonderful time here tonight. I want you to remember this, guys, that it takes a village. And it starts with us. Yes, that's a good one. There is a difference between courage and strength. There is a difference between courage and strength. It takes a village. It starts with us. Let's build, people. Let's build these bank accounts. Let's build our businesses. The most important thing, though, let's build each other. And let's do it together. We all we got, people. Guess what? That's enough. I pray to God preserve each and every one of you as you go to bed tonight, as you may be preparing for your sleep time. That God will bless you with a plan so you can wake up with a goal. Okay? Got to start spending some time with yourself. Got to start spending some time with these ideas. Spend some time with your goals. Spend some time so that you can plan and focus and you can wake up ready to attack. Until next time, Mr. DJ, hit the music.